Hello there everyone. So today I'm going to be showing you what happens when you breed together two divine dragons. So essentially this works exactly the same as legendaries, but just for anyone that isn't quite sure what I'm talking about or has never heard about this before, I'm going to breed our Hermes and our Hades dragons together. And so when we breed these two together, we get a 1 hour 35-minute breeding time. And you're probably thinking, well, that's really short. What dragon is this? Since it's so short, I'm going to speed this up for you. So, when we take this egg out, we've actually managed to breed the dust dragon. And so, this is kind of interesting the way that it works, but just to prove to you that every time you're going to get a different combo, pretty much, let's try rebreeding those two again. And so now when we bred these two guys together, we got a 10-hour breeding time. And so if we skip this one, the dragon that we got hold of was the fungus dragon. So, I'm going to quickly explain what the dealio is when you breed legendary and divine dragons. So essentially what happens is you get given one of the elements that the dragon has as its secondary or third element. So when you breed a divine or a legendary dragon, if we were to breed the Hermes like we did, we'd either be able to pass down the wind or the plant element. And then when we're breeding the Hades dragon with it, we'd be able to pass on either the earth or the shadow element down to the dragon. And so from the bred little babies that we have in the hatchery, obviously for the dust dragon we pass down the wind and earth element, so wind from the Hermes and earth from the Hades, and then for the fungus dragon we pass down the shadow from the Hades and the plant from the Hermes dragon. So essentially they do just work like sort of wild cards, because you don't know which of those four elements are going to get passed down to the baby dragon. And you can see that even though we haven't unlocked the other elements for the Hades dragon, they can still be passed on to the offspring. So essentially it is never a good idea to try and breed legendaries or divines if you actually want a specific dragon. But at the same time, if you've got nothing else to breed, you know, it's a little bit of fun that you can sort of mess around with stuff. But if you want to go through everything in depth, there is a little bit of text about this on the DML wiki. So, legendary and divine dragons act as wild cards for breeding, but they pass only one element from the wands which the user has unlocked by leveling up. Only bi-elemental dragons, with the exception of the Sunflower, Mercury, Lightning, Magnet, and Emperor, can be obtained by breeding two legendary or divine dragons, regardless of whether either parent has any of its secondary elements unlocked. And so from what it said there, you can only unlock bi-element dragons. So that is dragons that have two elements, which, you know, we just got a dust and we just got a fungus. So, you know, that is true. And you cannot breed epics or like 3-element dragons using legendaries or divines. So like I said, realistically the combinations aren't actually going to be useful, and they're not going to get you any cool dragons, and you're not going to be able to breed another legendary or another divine using it. It just isn't possible to get a legendary out of like 2 elements. So, you know, for anyone that was curious as to how that interaction worked and didn't want to waste the sort of breeding time or habitat space, there's how you do it. I mean, I find it kind of interesting that, again, you don't even have to have the actual elements of the dragons unlocked. But, you know, essentially, if you just want to mess around while you've got nothing to breed like me, then, you know, it just serves as sort of a, like, oh, what dragon are we going to get today? Because how many different combos are there? Realistically, there aren't too many, but you can just sort of, you know, you could have wind and shadow, or you can have the other rarity types for it, so you can get quite a few of the shop dragons using that method. So if you're a sort of lower level player, maybe you got 2 of the dragons of the month, and you just start breeding them together. Like, if you are someone that managed to breed the autumn dragon, for example, if you breed that autumn dragon with, I don't know, let's say, what's another one, with the comet dragon, you'd have a chance of breeding a rare dragon that has the shadow element. So, You know, if anything, there are always ways for lower level players to get a hold of Shadow and Light Dragons, but obviously you wouldn't be able to put it anywhere if you didn't have the habitat space for it. But I just wanted to quickly make that because I know a few people asked me to do it a few years ago when they were like, Quacks, how does it work? Please explain it. I don't get it. Well, you know, like I said, the text is written on the DML wiki as well, but I hope this was a nice little, you know, mini, almost teaching session as to how the divines and the legendary dragons work. And I'm sorry that breeding a legendary with a legendary isn't as amazing as you probably thought it was. But for now, thank you very much for listening and taking note today. But until next time, I will see you then.